Where's Doc?
Der war... Nee, der war da. Ah, keine Ahnung.
Hey, good morning. It's 7:30 a.m. on July 14th, and Carol just dropped me off at San Diego Pass, Highway 20 in Oregon, and I'm continuing my PCT hike from here, so it's gonna be a little broken up, more broken up than I thought it was gonna be, but after the Sierra, after leaving the Sierra at Cottonwood Pass, just went home, did some work, got an important piece of work done, which is nice. Rested up a bit, kind of regrouped and regained my desire to get back out on the trail. It didn't disappear for that long. Just had a bad day that was a harbinger of many to come if I'd stayed on the trail through the Sierra, given the melting conditions. So anyway, back out this morning, climbing up into the Jefferson Wilderness. Very exciting because pack's a little tight. It's been closed, just reopened last year. It's been closed for some fire damage a few years ago, and should be very pretty. Jefferson's one of the prettiest mountains in Oregon, I think, and never hiked this part before. So my plan, I'm going to meet Carol in about 5 days. I'm going to spend the night at Timberline Lodge. I'm going to head across and go up to Canada, and then I'll see what I got left in the tank. Might just head back to Ashland and go south from there and go as far as I can until I have to go back to work. Yeah, check in later. This is bear grass. I think it might be just getting over with. It gets those flowers get really big and fluffy. It's a cool plant. area of blowdowns. You just gotta figure out a way through it. It's not pretty. It's not a ballet. Well, that was a good effort. Good idea. Still want to get on that log. Goes all the way through. Not on that one though. Let's try this again. It's a fairly easy way to get rid of all the get around all those trail crossing ones. Oh man. I'm told this goes on for a few miles. Sometimes there's a obvious cut around like this, but it does make for slow going. Boy, hate to say it, but you kind of wish for some snow you could just walk over. All right, see enough of that. Oh, it's been a slow 2 miles across this this burnt area here. Kind of went down and came up this ridge up to here. Just a tremendous number of blowdowns. Very few sections of clear trail, and places where there's so many that just going around them, you kind of lose the trail and you have to re-find it again. Our first day back on trail in Oregon, and I went 18.8 miles, so that's pretty good, not too bad. Got a little tired, so I stopped here, but you know, this is my campsite. Look at that view of Mount Jefferson. Pretty amazing. There's my tent, and there's all my junk. I'm gonna get everything straightened out. I gotta watch how I put things in the tent tonight because there's a lot of mosquitoes around. This this shirt is permethrin treated, and I got a little bit of DEET on my hands and my face, so I got pants on, so pretty much covered up. But I don't really like using DEET, but sometimes that's all you have. I got water at a little pond down below a little while ago, and probably munched about 20 mosquitoes that were full of blood off my legs. So it's mosquito time. All this snow is melting out, and lots of little ponds around. Yeah, so morning. It's 5:30 in the morning on July 15th. It's my second day of my PCT restart, and did 18.8 miles yesterday. Hoping to go over 20 today. Early start will help. I had a great campsite last night. View of Mount Jefferson. I'll have more views of that today. A couple things about the campsite. One is overrun with mosquitoes. There's a lot of mosquitoes out. It's the way it's going to be, I'm afraid. Whoa. It's one of the biggest blowdowns I've encountered here. I think you have to go around. It's usually a pretty well-worn trail around these things, although yesterday twice I kind of followed those trails and really got off trail. It's so easy to just kind of get sucked off, and then the trail veers away from you, and before you know it, you're like an eighth of a mile away. So it's best to try to just push through those things if you can. And then the other thing was I shared this campsite with a deer, kind of a large-sized doe, and I kept waking up and thinking, oh, somebody's in the camp. Because there's room for about 5 tents up there, but I was the only one. And it was this deer, and it was just circle me. And earlier in the day, and I've seen this before, I was sitting in a lake with these people, and this guy said this other deer had come and stolen his trekking pole. And they like it seems like they like the, I'm on snow now, like the salt on the handles, hand grips. So I use my trekking poles to set up my tent. So they were kind of ducked underneath, but I didn't want to have that deer start gnawing while I was sleeping. So I kept having to wake up and make noise. This thing circled me like 3 times. Every time I would make some noise, it would run away. And then this morning I heard noises. I thought, oh, someone did camp here. And it was that deer again, and he just bedded down right next to me. Like, just on the other side of this tree. Got up and ran away and then came back. Well, I was packing up. Lake. I just got water here. My next water is about 5 miles away at Milk Creek, still under Mount Jefferson. And got another friend over here. This deer. They're sure not timid around here. This area. She's just behind this tree. Hi, baby. Not too afraid, are you? Hi, baby. Okay, I'll leave you alone. It's blue sky above, but there's just really very little light getting into this forest. There's a little light on that tree there. That's really it. It's dark down here. It's time is 8:40. Just a dense forest of mountain hemlock covered with moss, and I guess it must be on the north side of this hill, but not a lot of light coming through here. I mean, it's pretty nice. I mean, I'll take it. Might be hot this afternoon, and I probably will get to 10 miles before before 10 o'clock in the morning, which is great. So I might even be able to wait out the heat if it's not bearable, and then walk in the evening. I should get 20 to 25 miles today with any luck. I do have a hill coming up, but right now I'm descending toward Milk Creek. That's a glacial creek that comes off of Mount Jefferson. All those glacier creeks, they tend to carry a lot of silt at various times of the year. The glacier grinds up rock and makes fine silt, and it gets carried down by these rivers. So you have Milk Creek and White River and things like that. That's Milk Creek. Not very milky. That's Susie. I just chatted with her for a while. Jumped across at those rocks there. This is the beginning of the most recent burned area. This whole Jefferson Wilderness has been like a study in burned areas. This is the newest one. This is the reason the trail was closed for a couple of years, until last year. Well, I'm at the northern border of the Mount Jefferson Wilderness, which has just been beautiful. So here's one last shot of that. Look at that iceberg lake down there. Beautiful. morning. It's 5:15 in the morning, July 16th, and I just left camp. A pretty nice camp spot, although for people much younger than me, rolled in about close to 8 o'clock and kind of, what can I say there? They weren't too gracious. So happy to be gone from there. So yesterday I managed to do about 18 and a half miles, which kind of surprised me. I wasn't really keeping track during the day, but I guess it was a big hill. It wasn't too bad, but the trail got really chossy, really, just made up of rocks that kind of roll when you step on them, and that slows you down a lot. I was near the top of the pass that divides Jefferson Wilderness from Mount Hood Wilderness. I just walked through a really warm spot. And then all the way down too, so it's getting a little bit better now, so I expect it to smooth out. But the other thing I did yesterday was I just chatted up everybody I saw. This one woman, a physician, and I chatted for probably 40 minutes, just about nothing. But so that ate up some time. So I'm a little bit behind schedule for getting into Timberline Lodge. So I'm going to try to do, my stretch goal is 28 today. Should be the longest day I've gone, but this is mostly downhill to rolling today. And 9 miles from where I camped, I'll hit Olali Lake Resort, which is, I think I can get off there and might try to have some real breakfast. Breakfast I'm carrying, I just didn't eat this morning. And yeah, tank up and move on. The other thing I really got to watch today is, yesterday I got dehydrated and I did not see it coming. I was drinking water all day, but I just think the air is very dry and you lose a lot of water breathing. And I was sweating all day. I'm kind of wearing a different shirt than I do, and I think it just evaporates more, so I don't really notice how wet my shirt is getting. Anyway, I drank a lot of water, but I'll turn on the oversharing light here if you want to look away. But toward the afternoon, I just had this incredible urge. I mean, every 3 or 4 minutes to pee. Incredible urge. And what came out was like molten gold metal. So that's a sign from my kidneys, I think, that all was not well yesterday. So I got to camp, made up some electrolyte drink, and drank about 1.5 liters of that. Just felt better immediately and peed normally in the night. There you go. All you wanted to know. Camera probably won't capture it very well, but to the left of Mount Hood, I can see the rounded dome of Mount St. Helens out there. That's pretty cool. Even though I got a good view of Mount Hood, it's still 60 some miles away on the trail. can't be any more than a couple of years old. And the recent, like, seems like the fire just raged through here. Just burned all the bark off these trees. Killed them. Just a few plants coming back. I do hear birds. Must be, I mean, there's insects around. I've seen some moths. But other than that, not too much. Takes a while for some of these areas to recover. This must have just really been something to see while it was going. Okay, it's about 10:20 in the morning. Beautiful little lake back here. I just finished having my breakfast / lunch at Oahu Lake. There's a little general store there, and had a couple of sodas and got a couple Gatorades. Fortified my water here with Gatorade. Try and stave off that dehydration. I got 10 miles in today, and I'm planning on, my stretch goal for today is another 18. So that's just talking to a guy who's walking southbound, and he feels like that's doable today, at least in terms of terrain. So he said I got about 3 more miles of this burn. It's going to take it a while to recover. In 3 years, it's got, just minimal shrubs and grasses and things like that. In fact, here, it's maybe the first evergreen trees I've seen. Maybe I wasn't paying very much attention, but 3 of them there. Huh. Well, can't get any more explicit than that. I'll keep an eye out. I just tanked up with water from this little creek here. Lost water for about 4.5 miles. These are salmon berries. They're like an orange. They're not ripe yet, but they'll be an orange raspberry looking thing. And they're not very. They don't have a lot of flavor, but I'm told that natives used to mix those with Oregon grape, which is, I think, this right here is some Oregon grape. And eventually those will get a berry on them that's edible, but it's super tart. So when you mix those two together, they make kind of a nice dried berry paste or something like that. Hi. Well, it's 6 o'clock in the evening. And just wanted to check in to say I'm gonna meet my stretch goal for today. Got about, well, probably half hour or less down to the Warm Springs River, and where I can camp. And pretty hungry, so gotta grab some water out of the river, cook, get a tent up, hope the mosquitoes aren't too bad. They don't seem to be bad here, but who knows about the river. Yeah, so this will be my longest day on the trail, actually. I think 28 and some miles. I've benefited today for sure because it's a real cruisy trail. It's been, a few exceptions, pretty smooth walk. Had a sustained downhill this afternoon, so I had to climb a hill to get to it, but not too bad. It's about 6:45. I just left camp at the Warm Springs River, and that was really a stellar camp. One of the best camps I've had. There were three other tents showed up. I think I got in about 6:30 after doing 28.1 miles. So that was really worth it yesterday. I don't feel terrible today. And I can have days of 18 and 14 miles. It's kind of the way I'm splitting it up. Unless I decide to go longer today to get to Timberline Lodge. So that's a load off. I'll make that. Last night, the Warm Springs River was amazing. So I got my stuff set up and cooked myself some pasta pesto with chicken. And went and sat on this little log bridge over the river. The river's about 12 feet wide there. And ate my meal and soaked my feet in the cold creek, washed my feet and my legs. Oh, it's luxury. As I was eating, I was watching this little brook trout just sit in the current and rise up to munch flies. It was very cool. And go figure. Camped right on the river and hardly a mosquito. Probably could have counted them. So I don't get mosquitoes. Huckleberries. Body craves fruit. There's some giant Douglas fir trees in this little stretch, and lots of huckleberry bushes. Well, in the category of be careful what you wish for, it's a cool morning. It's a chilly morning. I got to keep on walking just to stay warm. I'm kind of soaked from the hill I just climbed. So yeah, not one thing, it's another. It's probably only about 7:30. So, but it is overcast. It almost looked like rain a little while ago. There are many of these power lines all along the trail. You can really hear this one because the air's got a lot of moisture and it can hear this one. The corona discharge off the wires. These things can be like 5, 6, 700,000 volts. It's just the way we transmit our power. The higher the voltage, the lower the current, and so the lower the loss. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. I've been walking along thinking about rain. Rain clouds out there, or clouds anyway. And trying to remember all my weather stuff. So I think I can remember three of the 4 ways that it rains, but basically what causes rain can be summed up in one word: lifting. Lifting of colder air to higher altitudes. So cold air doesn't hold as much moisture as warm air. If you take some warm, moist air, put it in some sort of sealed chamber, and then cool it down, it's going to condense. You're going to see water condense on the walls of the chamber because it can't be held in the gas phase anymore. There's just not enough kinetic energy in there to keep it suspended as a gas. So whenever we lift moist air up into the colder layers of the atmosphere, we get rain. And so there's basically 4 ways that can happen. Up in the mountains, I'm approaching Mount Hood, and sometimes people say mountains create their own weather. It's not entirely true. They don't play an active role, but one thing. So if a warm, dense air mass holding a lot of water moves toward Mount Hood, it's going to collide with Mount Hood. It's got, 2 options: go around or go over. And so, some goes over the top, some goes around the sides, and others, some combination, other parts of the air mass. And so, but when it goes over, it gets lifted to higher altitude where it's colder, and that often causes it to rain or snow, depending on the temperature. So that's called orographic lifting just by the topography. So mountains do that all the time. So another big one is frontal lifting. And so because of the different differential heating and cooling of the air masses on Earth, we get warm and cold air masses moving around and bumping into each other. And oftentimes, when a warm air mass bumps into a cold air mass, the warm air has to go over the top of the denser cold air, and once it gets up there, it's at a higher, colder altitude, and it rains. So that's frontal lifting, cold fronts and warm fronts banging into each other. The third one is called cyclonic lifting, and it happens because, well, everybody knows the sort of the mythology that toilets cycle the other way, circulate the other way in Australia than they do in the northern hemisphere. That's not true, but it's not entirely false. The forces to make that happen definitely exist. It's just that they can't act on something that small and that liquid. But they do act on large circulating air masses, and it causes the air masses in the northern hemisphere to turn in a counterclockwise direction, and in the southern in a clockwise direction. And the name of that force is the Coriolis force. And it has to do with the fact that if you're standing, let's say halfway, like roughly where I am, like halfway between the equator and the pole, you're spinning, the Earth is spinning around its axis, but you're also kind of off that axis. And so you, not to get too technical, but you have basically 2 angular momentum vectors, and they mix to make a Coriolis force that causes things to turn like that. And so anyway, when you have these big cyclic or circulating air masses, they tend to get dense in the center. They tend to spin toward the center. And once you start compressing that air into the center of that big circulating air mass, it doesn't have anywhere to go except up. It's either the ground or up. So most of it goes up into colder air, and you get some rain from cyclonic lifting. And the last one is thunderstorm lifting. So this happens in the summer when you get, say, a valley, and it's pretty wet in the valley. There's maybe a lot of plants, and they're transpiring water all day, and that's that warm air rises up. Evaporation, transpiration of the plants makes that air rise up into cooler air. And as the day goes on, we see clouds build, thunderstorm clouds build, thunderclouds. And those can get really roily. There can be so much upward lifting that even air gets lifted up very fast to high altitudes. It freezes into pellets called hail, and those can actually fall back down and then get boosted back up again, where they get coated with another layer of rime ice, just amorphous ice. And those hailstones can get bigger. Anyway, so that's thunderstorm lifting. And those are basically the four things you look for. And knowing those things, can help you out here kind of look around and predict what's going on. There's a lot more to it than that, but just kind of some basic things to think about. I enjoy thinking about those things. I've shown you better examples of bear grass plants for sure. This one's kind of spent, but man, it's just my favorite plant. There's that whimsical flower that pops up. You see on the other videos, but this grass is just so beautiful. Little wisps of grass. I'd love to try to grow some of that at home. I just love this. Another thing I find kind of funny in cities, we grow these things all the time because they're beautiful. But these are azaleas, and in other places you see rhododendrons, and this is their native land. I was camped just amid a bunch of rhododendrons last night, and they weren't blooming, but that's what they were. This is where they come from. Well, it's about 10:15, and I am at Oak Grove Fork. I cross it one more time coming up. Anyway, it's flowing just down here through these vine maples. Pretty creek. Deep, clear water. It's time for my first lunch. I have tuna on tortillas. I wish I had some mayo for that. I'm gonna have Lenny and Larry's complete cookie, 10 grams of fiber, 16 grams of protein. I don't know how many calories. You're in a movie. Oh, yeah. around 6 in the morning. I left camp at 5:30. Camped at a spring, a really nice spring. Deep pools of clear water. Let's see, I think about, what is it, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more tents showed up yesterday after I got there. I got there early, about 3. Felt odd about quitting so early, but I had 18 miles in. I only got 14 to go today, 14 and a half maybe to Timberline Lodge. I'm probably about a mile out of camp now. So, well, it's a beautiful morning. I'm in the green tunnel here, but oh, it opens. Oh my goodness. There's Mount Hood. You can see that. Beautiful. That's where I'm headed. Up onto the shoulder of that.